So Bratish, like Mohan was introducing, the business that you're into, ThreadSol, the apparel industry.
Yep.
At least an industry that typically hasn't been associated with as much technology the way we know it, right? It's a lot more in the manufacturing domain. So talk us a little bit more about ThreadSol and how do you think about using technology to disrupt the market, and talk us about, talk us through the disruption that you're actually, doing in this market.
Right. So first of all, hi guys. It's an irony, right? Means we all are using the outputs of this apparel industry, but we very rarely know how these are made. I think most of us somewhere or around used some custom-made clothings. Now multiply that with a big number like 1,000 and or even more. That's how the big industries, the big manufacturers make apparels for the mass market, right? And let me talk through about how this is done actually. Generally, there are brands whom we know, and there are manufacturers. So brands generally create styles, and those styles are then handed over to the manufacturers, who eventually finally make those garments. For making those garments, they have to procure fabric, which is the main component. And by the way, fabric, carries around 70 to 80% cost of the garment. So whatever garment you have purchased, the 70% cost of making of the garment gone into procuring the fabric. So if we can save some part of fabric, let's say it took 1 meter of fabric to produce one particular style of garment. If we can do some whatever sorcery we have under our sleeves and bring it down to 0.9%, 0.9 meters, that is 10% saving, that eventually becomes a huge profit for the manufacturers. And that finally boils down to the consumers at the final end, because it helps them beating their competitors. So this is, in a nutshell, what we do. We have 3 products, IntelloCut, IntelloBuy, and Intello3C. Intello3C is aiming towards the brands through which they can have better negotiation with the manufacturers. Mm-hmm. Manufacturers on the other side is a complicated business in itself. They generally have one headquarter and the cluster of factories which ultimately do the hard work of producing the garments. So IntelloBuy is aiming towards the headquarters of the clusters, and IntelloCut eventually solves the problem on floor, where exactly the saving takes place. So this is in a nutshell what we do.
Got it. That's very interesting, right? So one of the other stats that I kind of heard from the conversation earlier with you is there globally 90 billion garments that are made, and y'all are responsible for planning 1 billion of those, and that's like a huge statistic, right? So talk us about the scale and what does it take to kind of match that scale.
So we are 7 billion people on this planet, and most of them are civilized. I can see no naked people here. So all of us pay hard-earned money to purchase garments and clothings, and this world produces 90 billion garments each year, which are going to stores to be bought. And each day, our softwares plan 4.5 million garments, which then means little less 2 billion garments planned each year, which is around little more than 1% of the garments that are produced yearly, planned through us. So if you people are wearing any of the leading brands of India presently, probably your garment has gone through our softwares without knowing it.
Right. So also, you told me that you've been using DigitalOcean since 2014. And that's a long time, right? So tell us, what have you used at DigitalOcean, and what has your 4-year journey with DigitalOcean been like?
Right. There is a story to that as well. In 2013, in one of the largest tech companies of this world, conducted a startup challenge We won the Delhi chapter of that and finally got the runners-up position, which held in Bangalore. And in other different rewards, one was $60,000 worth of cloud storage of course, their offerings. We happily used that for a year. But towards the end of the year, of that year, mid 2014, we were skeptical that we could not bear the actual cost if we want to keep on using their products. So that time, I personally did many research with means one of the domains were of course DigitalOcean, and there are many competitors as well. And finally, we selected DigitalOcean, and of course we are presently rewarded with the stability that it has provided since then.
Got it. So stability is one aspect. What are the other elements that kind of you've seen with DigitalOcean that folks in your organization kind of resonate with?
Yeah, of course the lower cost, first and foremost, without giving up the quality, right? Often you go down the cost lane, but you pay on the other hand. It was not the case with DigitalOcean. Again, during that period, if I'm not mistaken, mid 2014, you opened up your Singapore data center. And most of our businesses are in South and Southeast Asia. So having a data center at Singapore means lower latency. So soon after that DigitalOcean Singapore data center came up, we moved there. And then we had a very nearer place for hosting with lower cost, and of course with brilliant stability. So what else do you need? And we never looked back actually, and even today, predominantly we use DigitalOcean as our primary hosting service. Of course, we use some offshoots here and there, but 90% cost of our hosting goes to DigitalOcean.
Got it. Sure. So also, I hear that you're funded by Bloom Ventures, right?
We are funded by Bloom Ventures. Bloom was our seed venture capitalists way back in 2013.
Right. So one of the things is, you spoke about how this segment is not the typical segment that's, looked up to or,
Correct.
that VCs reach out to. So what did it take to kind of convince someone like Bloom into investing in you? And what's your general relationship and fundraising experience been like?
Bloom has been a very good, philosopher and guide to us. They came to us when we were almost exhausted all the other options. And being a pioneer to some industries has its own troubles. You have to create your own market. People generally do not know that there can exist a software like this, which can reduce their part of cost as well. And same happened to us. Means the last innovation this industry, our target industry, saw around 20-25 years ago when the CAD softwares move in. Since then, it was they were recurrent payment to spreadsheets and other softwares mostly. That is their software, yearly cost, yearly budget. So convincing them to have this into their tech stack, which eventually promised to lower their part of cost, was not a very easy journey. And similarly, it was not a very easy journey to convince other people where you would not have a proven previous success, where you can show that, look, there is a successful company and we are doing similar like this with a delta change or delta modifications. But there was a void there. We are pioneers. So it obviously took us longer to convince the VCs as well. And there, the novelty of Bloom Ventures, I would say, comes handy, where they took the time to understand the whole process and our propositions and promises. And of course, they understood and appreciated, and that's why they put their fund into us.
Right. So you also spoke about how you as a company talk to a lot of brands, right? So one of the things that we typically want to understand is how do you? It involves a lot of B2B sales, B2B marketing, talking to brands, right? what are some of the learnings that you've had that our audience here can benefit from, a B2B sales and marketing strategy perspective?
B2B is I would say is a different ballgame altogether. Generally in B2C, you often see very quick highs and very quick lows. One good article published, some good, let's say, TechCrunch supports you and publishes a good article on you. You see immediately upscale of your subscription levels. But that is not the case with B2B. Each new sale is a very high friction game where you have to start from zero to keep the person on the other side of the table, informed about what you do, how you do, and what benefits they're gonna extract out of it. And it is a repeating process. And I would say if one word can describe the whole process is perseverance. Means you have to hang in there. Means there is no easy fruit out there in B2B, at least the market we look into.
Got it. And in the space that you are in, obviously, what are your, and you said you're already a pioneer in the space that you operate in, right? So what's next for you? What are your growth vision for your company, and what's the role that someone like DigitalOcean can play in helping you achieve that vision?
Right. So the whole apparel market is around $3 trillion market, and we are just biting a very small chunk of that. And of course there are not too much competitors because it is kind of in a dark corner of this whole ecosystem. So what we are looking into is to move our wings, spread our wings little over into other domains, means inner domains of this whole ecosystem. Presently, we cater the manufacturers in two levels, in their headquarters and into the factories. We have started pushing towards the brands where we can deliver the benefits which the other softwares, other data we are collecting, and create analytics for the brands as well, and push them and give them better negotiation tactics when it comes to negotiating between brands to the factories. We are using open source technologies, and we are using artificial intelligence based communication techniques where brands can have automated negotiation conversations going with the manufacturers in parallel times and in quicker sessions.
Got it. So through this entrepreneurship journey, what are some of those key highlights or key takeaways that you've had, right, personally, and what are those that you can share with some of our folks here today?
Right. So as I've said that having a good product which thrills you as a technologist is probably 20 to 30% of the journey. The rest, especially in the segment of B2B, is largely convincing the people on the other side of the table how this can help them. And if you are the pioneer, the problem gets multiplied simply. You have to first prove that these systems can or have the merit what you are proposing, and then you have to move them from their static inertia to on over the solutions you are providing or you are promising them. So you have to keep repeating the cycle. You have to keep innovating the communication part, where how to convince the other people. And what we did specially is you have to create auxiliary products. We have built mobile-based smaller analytic tools where the decision makers quickly get updates that, okay, today my factory has cut this many pieces and I have saved this many dollars. So that helps the people who are paying for your software. See, the problem is the people who are paying for your software are not the user of the software.
Right.
This is the hard reality. And there comes a big barrier to cross. So how do you send the information to the people who are taking the decisions about their return on investments that they made, and at the same time keeping the people who are using your products similarly happy without threatening them to getting them out of the job. That is one of the early fights that we had to take, that generally people quickly brand you as enemies, right? These are automations, these are there to throw us out of our job. That is not correct. These are helping hands. So you have to keep the balance on both the sides. For us, worked really well is having those auxiliary products which transfer the information to the right point at the right time.
Right, that's very useful to know. We're almost out of time. We'll probably take one question if there is any. Is there a question? Anyone? All right. Yeah.
Hello everyone.
Hi, sir.
I have just started my small company giving web services, web development and app development services to clients in US and UK. So I'm starting with this cold email marketing strategy. I'm not actually visiting there. So can you suggest me something regarding B2B email marketing strategy or something like that?
I think that really depends on your target domain. The target domain I'm in probably won't help you if your target domain is different. And I think these are too broad of a question where you have to keep digging on the marketing agencies probably who specializes on the customer base you are looking for.
Yeah, my ideal customer is basically small businesses like coffee shops and stuff like that.
I'm very sorry, I do not have much experience in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hi, this is Saurabh from DataSync. Basically, as you said, then B2B, in an enterprise solution, the consumer and the user are two different, the buyer and the user two different people. But then what I read and I come from B2B background myself from product management. I just want to get your insight on that. That, you give an edge to the company which you're selling a product to, that giving an edge or giving in some kind of differentiation factor over the competition. And the user which is going to use, you have to make it easy. But then how do you make the balance on that? Because I've seen, I give an example of medical devices. So if there's an ECG machine, okay? So the purchasing department in the hospital buys the ECG machine. The doctor approves the ECG machine.
Right.
But the user is a nurse.
Correct.
And the seller never talks to the nurse. And so in your case also, how do you then tackle this? This is quite a complex scenario. Like, so that's why the enterprise solution have such a terrible UX basically. If you look at that, people have to do courses to learn that, to run those platforms.
Indeed, I totally concur with you when you say that these are terrible problems to solve. Then again, you have to innovate. How do you gap these communication gaps, right? How do you bridge them? So one bridge that we have developed, not one, multiple actually, is to have multiple probing softwares through which you can inform the people who have paid that, okay, this much is my ROI real time, right? So that I don't have to pay. If I'm investing on your software, which is a very thick amount, I do not have to wait till, let's say, 1 year down the line to know if this has been worked or not. From the next day onward, you will get data on your smartphone. You paid this much and your ROI is increasing day by day. One day you can clearly see that it will cross your ROI and you'll be happy. On the other hand, you have to ensure that the people, the real users of your software, are also credited. So if you can make some system like this, that okay, the factory worker who is working really hard on the field, his or her name is of course getting promoted through the software to the right level of people, they are also happy, right? Because this software is not much alien to them right at that point. They are also helping them, promoting their names, and they are also get motivated through that. So these are a few innovative steps that we have taken, which we have faced very hard way during our journey in last 5 years. I believe each domain and each other problem areas have their own solutions, but these are the solutions that we have found in our cases.